A ratio is an expression that compares two numbers by thinking of them as a fraction. A proportion is a statement that one ratio is the same as another ratio. You read this by saying 10 is to 25 as 6 is to 15. And another way of thinking about what it means is that the relationship of 10 to 25, which is that it's times 2.5, is the same relationship that you have between 6 and 15. It's also times 2.5. There's another relationship that's true in a proportion that can be helpful in solving them, and that is that if you take the numbers in the opposite corners, for example the 10 and the 15, and multiply them together, which makes 150, you get the same result as if you multiply the opposite corners together. 6 times 25 is also 150. This can be particularly helpful in solving a proportion, is to use this little fact. Here's a typical proportion for us to solve, where we know 3 of the numbers and we're trying to find the 4th one. In a proportion, there's often a simple relationship that goes side to side that you can see, a numerical relationship. Or there's sometimes a simple relationship that goes up and down. If you can spot either of those, that's a particularly efficient way to solve the problem. In this case, 103 times 4 is 412. So we have a simple up and down relationship. If that's true, that must mean that x times 4 is equal to 24. So if x times 4 is 24, then we know what x is. It would be 6. Let's look at another example like that. In this problem, we have a pretty simple relationship going sideways, which is that 12 is 1.5 times 8. So that must mean that x is 1.5 times 14. 1.5 times 14 is 14 plus 7, which is 21. So that's what x is. So again, you can solve a proportion by looking at the vertical pattern or by looking at the horizontal pattern. Here's a proportion problem where neither the sideways relationship nor the up and down relationship is particularly easy to see. For this problem, we can use that relationship about the corners that we talked about earlier, which is that we know that 9 times x is going to give the same answer as 4 times 15. So using that idea, we can write a little equation to solve. 9x equals 15 times 4. In order to solve that, all we need to do is divide each side by 9, and we find that x is 6.67. That technique is known as cross multiplying. So now you have 2 different ways to solve a proportion.